Okay, so while we wait for the glue to dry on this last one, it's not going to be completely dry, but giving it a good 20 minutes to dry a little bit, and that's why you saw on the first one I did, I just went through and did the whole thing and didn't actually clamp anything. And I realized later that, particularly after I put the weights on to hold the floor in place, sort of press down into the glue, I really needed to give the opportunity for things to sort of really get squeezed together and the glue to set. And 20 minutes is a minimum. You probably should give it more than like an hour. But anyway, we're going to keep going here. We'll put the floor in this one in a minute. But now we need to figure out the shelf pieces. They're going to go in here, and the cross pieces, they're going to go up here. As I've described in a previous video, I used the 14-inch one thinking, oh, this will be simple, it'll be great, it'll be easy, and then didn't realize, oh yeah, I forgot to add the extra width down here, the extra width up here, so we got to make some new ones. So I'm just going to double check kind of the width on these. They should be somewhere about 15.5. Some of these look like they're just a little bit longer. That's about a 1/16 longer. It's about an 1/8 longer. That's right on 15.5. That's about an 1/8 longer. That's right on 16. 3/16. Now, so it's got to be a little bit longer than 15.5 for most of them. Although I can use some clamps to kind of squeeze them together. Some of these are sort of bowed out a little bit, and I can just see sort of watching this one. This one's bowed out just a little bit, so I can use some clamps to kind of bring them in. But I don't want to do that by more than a 1/16 of an inch or so. And then these are going to get miter cutted, meaning there's going to be a cut sort of at an angle. So what I'm probably going to do is I'm probably going to cut out 16-inch length pieces for these. And then when I go to and mill them all up as 16 inches, and then when I go to actually put them in, then we'll cut them down to 15.5 or 15 and 9/16 or whatever it is to get the true measurements here, so they will line right up on the top and have the miter cut right to it. So that would be that. And then the interior, that's about a 1/16 more. That's about a 1/16 more. About an 1/8 more. So again, I'm going to do the same thing here. And these are supposed to be 14.5. I'll probably cut them to 15. Most of them are just a little more than 14.5. So I'll probably make 15-inch ones and then miter cut them down to the actual size. Now, these shelf ones are going to be interesting because I've got to cut a little notch to fit them and then miter cut them. So I got to fit a notch around here so that they'll go all the way to the edge here. But then I'm going to miter cut here so that the next one will slide in real easy that way. So we're going to do that. And then the other thing I was thinking about the other day, I had planned for the shelf to, actually that's not going to work because it's too wide. What did I use? Small scrap piece. So So the scrap piece is too big, it's too thick, but it's narrow. So originally, and this is 1.5 inches wide, it was going to stick out like this on the top. So it stuck out proud from here, being 1.5 inches wide. But then I was like, I'm not sure I like that look. So now I'm thinking I'm going to go only 1 inch deep. So the little shelf here will just line up flush with the support pieces on the corner pieces. And I think that will be a better look. So instead of being 1.5 inches deep with a big overhang, it'll be just 1 inch deep and allow just that little bit of relief here that you can see, but it'll fit nicely flush here and here on that side. So, the little shelf pieces, those are going to be 15 inches by 1 inch. The top pieces are going to get cut to 16 inches and 1/2 inch, and then we'll cut them down to their right length once we go to do it, because we want to do minor cuts on them. So I think that's what we're going to do. And then we are going to use scraps that I've got left here. So I got these scraps here. These are all 5.5 inches wide. So if I'm only going 1 inch, I should be able to get 4 out of each of these boards. So I may only need to use, 4 of these boards to get the 16 shelf pieces that I need. And then I might use some of these scraps to get the top pieces. And in fact, I think I have some more sort of tall, thin scraps. Now these I think are 27 inches, so I can only, basically cut them off at 16. Maybe I'll get 2 out of that one. That looks like it's, I don't think that may only be 1 inch wide, in which case I'm only getting 1 out of that because the saw blade is 1/8 of an inch thick. So if it's 1 inch and I cut it in half, I've removed, 1/8 of an inch. So now even if I cut it right smack down the middle, neither of them are a full inch. I could potentially use a bandsaw that's maybe 1/16 of an inch wide to cut them, but I'll have to think about that if I really want to do that. Or do I have enough wood elsewhere that I can just set up the table saw and just run all this stuff through. So that's the plan. That's what we're going to do. So we're going to get set up here. Next to do is to cut these all down. One of the things I'm going to do is I will probably, these all need to get planed down to the 1/2 inch. I think these may be at the 1/2 inch already. They may be at the 1/2 inch, so that will make it a little quicker. And then we'll go from here.